So what I run into a lot is the situation where the man, in this case, we'll use the ASD man and the NT wife as the example, he is literally afraid of his NT wife at this point when the conflict has gone on for years unresolved. And this usually starts out by she, the NT wife, has not experienced the degree of emotional reciprocity that she wants and needs and desires. A lot of her expectations are not being met. This goes on for quite a few years. With good intention, she tries to reconcile differences, trying to make the relationship work, trying to fix some broken pieces. And her good faith effort usually downloads in his mind, the ASD man, as complaining, criticism, being parental, constantly correcting him. And so now he feels like he's on thin ice all the time, like he's in the doghouse much of the week. And I have heard so many self-reports from these men that they honestly are afraid to say much or do much because they just assume that they're going to get in trouble. And so they tend to basically go into shy mode. And this could look like he's spending less time with you. He doesn't really want to engage conversation with you. He may view you as his major source of anxiety. He tends to be preoccupied with other things. And that downloads in the NT wife's mind as he doesn't care about the relationship. I'm not important to him, and so on. But in many cases, what's really going on, he is just trying to avoid drama and conflict and arguments. He doesn't feel like he can win. And at some level, he's given up hope because he's, in his mind anyway, he has tried numerous things, none of which seem to help anything. And these men will say this a lot. It doesn't matter what I say or do, it's never good enough. And they are literally afraid, and I'm not exaggerating, they are constantly overly concerned, for good reason in their mind, that it's better to say nothing at this point, because when I try to fix it, oftentimes it makes a bad problem worse. And they're basically in a form of flight. And you may notice as an NT wife that sometimes he flips to the other side of that spectrum and goes into fight, which would be the meltdown, adult temper tantrum, and so on, and then flips back to the shutdown. So the moral to the story then is we need to come up with a communication strategy such that the NT wife can get her point across. In this case, the point being I need to get some of my needs met, without that downloading in his brain as I'm being attacked yet again. And so I really need to protect myself, and how I protect myself is to disconnect. So I have an exercise for both the NT spouse and the ASD spouse. And this assignment, and it would be good if you could journal or write a paragraph or two about this, would be to look at what's going on underneath the arguments. So we argue with one another because we are angry with what's going on. We feel that there's some unfairness, that some things are just not right. We want to fix it. And so we get angry. Both the NT and the ASD individual get angry. So that's what's underneath the argument is anger. But what's underneath the anger is fear. And that's what I would like for you to look at and journal. So the question then becomes, when you argue with your spouse, what is the fear that's motivating that argument? Is it fear of not getting your needs met? Fear of loss? Fear of being chastised, ridiculed, criticized, put down, disrespected, and so on? So we don't argue for no good reason. You spend a lot of time and energy arguing. In fact, if you've had a knockdown, drag-out argument that has lasted for an hour or more, you may have realized that you're exhausted, because it does burn up a lot of energy. And so if you could look at the fear that's motivating these arguments, that's motivating the anger, then the next step then would be, okay, what can I do to address the fear? Because my arguing isn't addressing my fear one bit. It's actually increasing my anger because we never get anything resolved, which in turn is increasing my fear, which means the next time we argue about the same damn thing, it's even going to be more intense than the previous time. So that's the assignment, guys and ladies. I want you to begin the process of debriefing or going back and investigating your arguments in retrospect after they have already happened. You wouldn't necessarily have to do this as a couple. It would be probably better to do it individually. And go back and replay that argument that happened earlier today or yesterday or last week and do a little investigation, examine why was I so invested in defending myself or arguing or pouring out all of these angry words that I threw at the other person. What was the fear motivating that? So the next part of the assignment would be then, when you have your list of fears, go back and look at, what can I do to get these fears addressed? We'll use the example that may be consistent with what some NT wives experience. We'll go with the fear of not getting my emotional needs met. So the next time you would have the propensity to argue and fight and get angry, instead maybe you could actually have a conversation rather than an argument about how I can get my emotional needs met. So you'd want to brainstorm some ideas about that, and then you could present that in a calm manner to your spouse. Let's use an example for the man who has autism spectrum disorder, and maybe one of his fears is being criticized. So now you would need to brainstorm some ways that you could converse with your NT wife such that her words didn't download as criticism in your brain. So the hope then is that you could actually have a conversation rather than an argument, and give your NT wife some ideas on how she can express herself such that you don't view that as put downs, criticism, her being parental, exaggeratory, and so on. So this is not a magic bullet, but it's certainly the beginning of looking at the core issue, which is your fears. If you want more details on how to do this and go deeper into this exercise, then by all means email me, and we can elaborate and broaden this exercise in a more thorough manner and do a deeper investigation into what's going on underneath the anger. Today I wanted to talk briefly about the strong points associated with people on the autism spectrum. Too often the microscope is focused on all that is wrong with people who have Asperger's or high-functioning autism. Yet these individuals actually have much more to contribute to families, friendships, and the workplace than the general population recognizes. It's quite true that there are hundreds of strengths associated with Asperger's and high-functioning autism, so any attempt at a list is going to stereotype these people, but here are 4 strengths that come to mind and that I witness most often. Number 1, it's a cliche by now to say that some adults with Asperger's and high-functioning autism have higher than average intelligence, but that doesn't make it any less true. Some people on the spectrum are downright smarter than just about everyone else out there, and some are quite aware of it and aren't afraid of telling others about their level of expertise in a particular field or subject. The second one, many adults with Asperger's and high-functioning autism have a wonderful sense of humor that demonstrates a truly unique way of viewing the world. Whether it's the humor found in someone making the same mistake over and over, or the hilarity found in seemingly irrelevant details of social situations, neurotypicals can learn a lot about how to appreciate details in life that they never would have noticed without learning from their partner on the spectrum. The third one, another strength, is the fact that people on the spectrum are going to tell the truth about something, whether you like it or not. Perhaps he has something figured out that you don't, and he isn't afraid to tell you. Perhaps the answer to a problem is obvious to him, and it's annoying how slow the neurotypicals are to figure it out, and he isn't going to hide that annoyance. Maybe it's a case of just being brutally honest with you when your haircut looks ridiculous, but the honesty that the individual on the spectrum possesses is refreshing in this pretend world of political correctness, contrived so-called reality television, and unrestrained commercialism that we all live with on a daily basis. It's really cool to have someone just tell it like it is every now and then. And the fourth and final one, many people with Asperger's and high-functioning autism have an absolutely uncanny ability to focus. Sometimes this manifests in inconvenient ways. For example, focusing only on the irrelevant details of a learning situation and therefore having difficulty with learning the bigger picture. But just as often, this manifests in ability to solve problems that would stump the neurotypical. For example, one employee with Asperger's syndrome helped engineer the dependent relations between hundreds of different components of a software system. The problem was that not only did it require a huge amount of focus, but a huge amount of focus over a long period of time, because every detail that was changed in the system caused hundreds of other small changes in the ways all the other components of the system depended on one another. This particular individual accomplished in a few days what the company expected to take several months. So without question, the high-functioning autistic brain operates differently. Most of these individuals are better at detecting changing sounds, detecting visual structures, and manipulating 3D shapes. Now, too often, employees don't realize what these individuals are capable of and assign them repetitive, almost menial tasks. But most are willing and capable of making sophisticated contributions to society if they have the right environment.
Hey guys, this is Mark, and I got a question from a man on the autism spectrum, and he says, I'm not sure if I feel love or not. I think I do, but I'm just not sure. Well, just know that for all of you guys out there with ASD, doesn't matter whether you have ASD or not, doesn't matter whether you're male or female, love is your natural state in the absence of fear. Love is your natural state in the absence of fear. Now, if you are in some form of fear, for example, toxic guilt, toxic shame, regrets about the past, worries about the future, feeling sorry for yourself, feeling vindictive, and so on, then love cannot coincide with those states of mind. So eliminate the fears as much as possible. And when you're in a non-fearful state, you are by default in your natural state of love.
Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you.
If you are in a neurodiverse marriage where one spouse is autistic and the other one is not, and you've been struggling for years and years, and you're kind of sick and tired of the routine, talk to me. Use me as your personal coach. I have groups, and I keep these groups small so that you can get a lot of one-on-one attention. I have 3 Q&A groups, one for ASD husbands, one for neurotypical wives, and I have a couples group where both spouses can attend. I also have 2 instructional groups, Cassandra Syndrome Recovery Group to help you cultivate some strategies to recover from years of emotional deprivation, and the Men's Masterclass, in which we take a deep dive on developing social skills and emotional literacy in the context of the neurodiverse marriage. We meet 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. So how much longer are you willing to wait?